a muddy trading post that became a global business capital. A city built on cattle drives that now hosts Fortune 500 boardrooms. This is Dallas, where cowboys and CEOs share the same streets, where oil derricks once dotted downtown, and where tragedy couldn't stop relentless growth. The history of Dallas is the American dream on Texas steroids, bigger, bolder, and always looking for the next deal. 6 flags, one land, the echoes beneath Dallas. Long before glass towers pierced the Texan sky, the land we now call Dallas was alive with the footsteps of the Caddo, Tawakoni, Wichita, Kickapoo, and Comanche, nations whose spirits still whisper through the windswept plains. These tribes thrived here, shaping the earth with their traditions, their languages echoing across rivers and forests. Then came the empires, Spain staking its claim in the name of the Viceroyalty of New Spain, followed by the quiet ambitions of France, whose dreams left barely a footprint. Over time, 6 flags would rise and fall over this contested soil. The banners of France, Spain, Mexico, the short-lived Republic of Texas, the divisive Confederate States, and finally the United States of America. Each flag marked a chapter of conquest, rebellion, identity, and change, a vivid tapestry of power struggles and perseverance. Beneath the skyline of modern Dallas lies a history layered with complexity, cultures, and the haunting resilience of a land shaped by many hands, but truly owned by none. Borders drawn in dust, the making of a Texan crossroads. In the shadow of empires, the fate of Dallas was sealed not by settlers or soldiers, but by the ink of diplomacy. The Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819 etched the Red River into maps as the northern frontier of New Spain, quietly claiming the future city for the Spanish crown. But borders on paper are fragile things. Just 2 years later, the tide of revolution swept through the Americas. Mexico rose from Spain's fading grip, and Dallas found itself within the vast, sun-baked lands of Coahuila y Tejas. Yet the winds of change blew faster than nations could redraw their lines. By 1836, a restless surge of Anglo-American settlers, calling themselves Texians, defied the old order and carved a new destiny with fire and grit, birthing the Republic of Texas. Dallas, though still only a whisper on the frontier, stood on soil that had already belonged to 3 nations, each leaving behind its legacy in the dust. A stake in the soil, the birth of Dallas. In the wild tangle of prairies and rivers, where the Trinity split into 3 winding arms, a man named John Neely Bryan stood with only his dog and a Cherokee companion named Ned. It was 1839 and Texas was newly free, still raw with the fire of revolution. Bryan, with a surveyor's eye and a dream stitched into the hem of his coat, drove a solitary stake into the bluff, his silent claim to an unknown future. He vanished for 2 years, but in 1841 he returned not just to the land but to the vision. There he founded a settlement and gave it a name that still stirs debate: Dallas. Whether it honored a vice president, a naval commodore, distant kin, or echoed from the Scottish Highlands, the name took root. By the time the Republic of Texas was folded into the stars and stripes of the United States in 1845, Dallas had already begun to breathe. It was carved into the heart of Dallas County the next year, and by 1856, it had earned its place as a city. Nearby, French dreamers of a utopian world settled La Réunion, a fleeting experiment along the Trinity's banks. Their ideals faded, but the spirit of bold beginnings never left. Dallas, born of lone vision and wild hope, would grow into a city shaped by ambition, mystery, and the unstoppable march of time. Steel, shadow, and the soul of a city. At the turn of the 20th century, Dallas rose with the shrill cry of train whistles and the clang of steel, transforming from a dusty outpost into a pulsating center of commerce. Railroads crisscrossed the land like veins, pumping life and labor into the growing city. Workers poured in from every direction: Texas fields, southern farms, Midwestern towns, all drawn by the promise of prosperity. The skyline reached upward in bold defiance when the 15-story Praetorian building pierced the air in 1909, a gleaming testament that Dallas was no longer just a city, it was a force. Racetracks echoed with the thunder of hooves, and businessmen built empires beneath rising towers. But not all growth comes without pain. In 1910, amidst the backdrop of progress, the city's darkest cruelty revealed itself. A black man named Alan Brooks was dragged from justice by a white mob and lynched at the very heart of downtown, beneath an arch that mocked its own message: "Welcome visitors." Thousands came not to mourn but to marvel. They took souvenirs, posed for photographs, and etched a stain into Dallas's soul that history can never erase. It was a moment that split the city in two, the steel and glass of ambition on one side, and the shadows of its conscience on the other. Dreams, oil and war, the fires that forged Dallas. In the heart of Dallas, where concrete now reigns, once stood Little Mexico, a vibrant refuge where Latin American families, fleeing the chaos of revolution and chasing the American dream, built lives from hope. In 1921, the spirit of revolution met that of migration when Mexican President Alvaro Obregón stood in Mexican Park, embraced by a community seeking peace and promise on Acard and Carruth. As the Great Depression loomed over the nation like a dark cloud, Dallas found its fire not in despair but in oil. When Dad Joyner struck black gold in Kilgore in 1930, it sent shockwaves through the soil and soul of Texas. Dallas, poised and ready, became the financial heartbeat of the oil boom, fueling dreams far beyond its borders. Then came the thunder of war. Factories once silent roared to life, churning out thousands of jeeps, trucks, and planes as Dallas became a vital artery in the Allied lifeline. The city's hands-built machines of might, the T-6 Texan, the P-51 Mustang, the B-24 Liberator, each a symbol of defiance and determination. Through revolution, depression, and war, Dallas wasn't merely surviving, it was becoming. Echoes of tragedy, the shadows cast over Dallas. Dallas, a city etched with ambition and resilience, has twice found itself at the crossroads of national sorrow, where history bled into the streets. On November 22, 1963, beneath the clear Texan sky, hope was shattered as President John F. Kennedy was struck down by gunfire while waving to crowds from his motorcade in Dealey Plaza. The echo of those fatal shots rang through Elm Street and into the soul of a grieving nation. Just over 30 minutes later, the 35th President of the United States was pronounced dead at Parkland Memorial Hospital, and Dallas would forever carry the burden of that dark day. Decades later, the city's pain resurfaced when, on July 7, 2016, a peaceful Black Lives Matter protest was pierced by violence. Amid chants for justice, gunfire erupted once more in the heart of downtown. 5 officers were killed, and chaos gripped the streets just blocks from where Kennedy once fell. The gunmen, consumed by rage and sorrow, forced a confrontation that ended with an unprecedented use of a police robot to deliver lethal force. From the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository to the steps of El Centro College, Dallas stands as a city marked by heartbreak, but not defined by it. In its silence after the storms, it continues to rise, forever shaped by the weight of history and the courage of those who walk its streets. Dallas proves that cities can choose their destiny. From cattle auctions to tech startups, from oil wildcatters to diversity champions, this city keeps rewriting its story. Now we want to hear your Dallas story. Family ties to the oil boom? Memories of the state fair? Or just love that Texas swagger? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for our next American City documentary.